Where does this go? Where does this go? Huh? Hi guys, so you're actually watching our first impression of the Toyota Corolla Cross, and by the time you watch this video there will be a whole lot of information already. We actually drove the Corolla Cross sometime last week, but unfortunately when we got back home and we actually reviewed the clips from that drive, we actually noticed that the audio quality was not that great. So for your viewing pleasure, we are actually reshooting this part, the introduction for the video, and there is actually another one which we'll get to later, which actually shows me doing a walk around the Corolla Cross, and there's a more in-depth video, in-depth review of the Corolla Cross. But most importantly, on that particular day, I actually had Uncle Chips here with us on the drive, and it was actually the first time that we are doing a review together. But Uncle Chips, you were mentioning things that you liked and didn't like about the car, and you've driven an entire generation's worth of Toyotas.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about the Corolla Cross?
Actually, I did. You know, that drive we took was pretty good. We had a mix of highways and winding roads, the Seminier Dam Road, Kuala Karawang Road. So it really showed out the car, and I think this new TNGA platform does make a lot of difference to the handling and the ride, and it's also a very quiet car.
Yeah.
And the variant that has the, you know, it has an acoustic windshield.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Probably some other cars have it, but Toyota is talking about it.
Yes.
And it's basically a laminated windscreen, which already gives you protection because it doesn't shatter. But there's another layer to reduce the sound transmission.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's like a value-added feature. You can't see it, but it will make a difference when you drive. And of course, the quieter a car is, the better the feeling of quality and comfort that you get.
It must be pointed out that the acoustic window is only available in the top spec V variant, and we drove the G variant, which did not have the acoustic
but
window.
it was already quiet.
Exactly.
Right?
It was already a very nice interior, very serene as well.
So imagine when we put it in, when we go in the higher variant with the acoustic glass.
Exactly. It was already very nice, and we were doing some speeds that we shall not mention over here, but it was a very nice quiet interior already. So with the V variant, which has the acoustic window, I think it will be a much nicer driving experience.
And I think that quietness and smoothness is partly to do with the engine. It's the same 1.8 litre engine that they've had for a while, but you know, these Japanese, they have this thing called Kaizen, constant improvement, they continue. So it's improved, and from what the engineer told me, the CVT is also slightly different from the ones they've used before. And I've always liked the Toyota CVT since I first experienced it in a Corolla, because the feel is like a conventional automatic transmission. A lot of people complain about CVTs, you know, they're feeling like a rubber band, where the revs go up but the speed doesn't go up. So this one is more natural. And I think the Toyota guys did a very good job programming it to be that way. And the one that is in the Corolla Cross is supposed to be improved. And you probably noticed that the shifting was pretty slick. And that's, you know, that's nice.
Not only that, I also thought, like you mentioned, it's more refined. You don't get, CVTs are traditionally very drony, you know, you get a sound as well, especially on downshifts, right? But I didn't find that in this particular Corolla Cross. You were also mentioning that perhaps the supplier for the CVT has also done a very good job at further refining and meeting Toyota standards of refinement.
Well, they always, every year, they keep refining the cars. If you talked about me having driven a lot of different models, and I've driven the first modern SUV, which was a RAV4 from Toyota.
There you go,
and that had a conventional transmission, and the Corolla Cross is really, you know, well, it is years ahead anyway, but it's really a big advance. and I think it really meets the needs of today in terms of versatility, in terms of performance. And do you remember we did the U-turn and how small that turning circle was? So I think that's pretty good considering the size of the car.
Precisely. We actually got lost somewhere. We lost sight of the convoy, and we had to do a U-turn to catch up back with them. And there was a Hilux
Pretty
in front
tight,
of us.
wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a Hilux in front of us, and we actually thought we were not going to make it. We actually thought, and we actually did make it. So that speaks volumes for the turning radius of the Corolla Cross.
In fact, I don't know. I don't really know why they want to call it a Corolla. You know, it deserves to be its own model, but I guess they want to show that Corolla family. Just like, you know, in the old days, we had Corolla liftback, Corolla station wagon, even a Corolla coupe.
Yeah.
So now they want to show that the Corolla family also has this SUV as well, which is what people want today.
Correct. But all in all, I thought the Corolla Cross was a very good option for those that perhaps find, dare I say, like a Honda HR-V, perhaps a bit too small, lacking in space. And even like the Toyota RAV4, I think it's a CBU.
That's very expensive.
It's hugely expensive right now, 200 over 1,000 ringgit for a Toyota RAV4. I think the sales are also just that, only not that great. So I think it bridges that gap really well, you know. And you know, before you even get to the the RAV4, there are other options like, let's say, the Nissan X-Trail or even the Honda CR-V, you know, which are great cars as well. But this gives you a lot of space, quite good refinement. The 1.8 litre engine is also you know, very...
It's a proven engine, long time already they've used it.
Correct. It's also a sprightly engine, right? It loves to rev. It has dual VVTi, so in terms of power and fuel economy, not bad. You know, when we got back that day after the drive, we had driven slightly over 200 kilometers. We went up to the dams of Semenyih, and I think by the time we got back, and we hadn't even consumed half tank of petrol, which is fantastic. So roughly from that you can guess. And we were driving. The politically correct word would be we were driving rather hard.
Yeah, because we were late.
Yeah, exactly. So we were pushing it, and yet it didn't need that much petrol. So it speaks volumes.
You know, I was just thinking, the RAV4, the original RAV4, the first generation, when they conceived it, it was meant to help people to make the transition from a passenger car, those who wanted to get SUV. It was like a passenger car. It drove like a passenger car, but it had high ground clearance, and it was like an SUV. The Corolla Cross is doing the same thing again. So for those who might have a Corolla sedan or some other sedan, and then they say, hey, now everybody is getting SUV, I want an SUV. Corolla Cross is probably a very good model for them to get into, because they don't need to adapt to it. It's just like another passenger car. It's just as comfortable. It has all the convenience features.
Exactly.
Right? So I think, given the trend today that everybody is going SUV, this one is definitely going to be a hit.
Yeah, correct.
And I'm told that BMW Toyota already sees the response, or heard that the response is so strong, that they are talking to Japan that they want to assemble it locally. So
brilliant. Yeah, in fact, that day they said that the Corolla Cross is going to be locally assembled later on this year.
Yeah.
So now we shall get to our walk around of the Toyota Corolla Cross. For lunch, and just going to give you a quick walkabout of the Toyota Corolla Cross. So what is it exactly? Well, let's put it this way. If the Honda HR-V is too small for you, the CR-V is too big and too expensive for you, if the RAV4 is what you actually want, but it's way too expensive for you. The Mazda CX-30 may be a bit too small, too pricey. This is where the Corolla Cross comes in and checks all the boxes. Well, exterior design is always subjective, right? It's whether you love it or you don't like it, whatever your taste. But as with all things with Toyota, as you can see, it's a very safe design. I don't think you can fault the design. Exterior-wise though, just going to take you on a walk around. So keep in mind that this is a 1.8G. This is the entry-level variant. We don't have the price yet, but keep in mind that this is supposed to be the contender for the Honda HR-V. So roughly about the price. By the time this video goes live, like I said earlier, we'll have the price for you. But if I can say this right now, what's up with the halogen lamps? No, it should have daytime running lights. It doesn't. This black grille, black bumper over here, like it, don't like it. I personally don't like it. I also don't like this black whatever over there. I think could be better. But over to the back, however, you actually have LED lights at the back, which is quite weird because the front don't have LED lights at all. So LED lights here, and you get a power tailgate. Get a lot of space too. And you get a functional tonneau cover, which is great if you want to hide your stuff. This is of course removable, the seats go back flat. So it's a very functional SUV in that sense for a young or not so young family. I think it's brilliant. And then plenty of Corolla Cross badges to remind you of what you're driving in case you forget, you know. So there's also a Corolla Cross badge over here that's chrome bit over there. And I also want to show you the back seat, which I spent some time in earlier. I'm just going to clean this up a bit. We media guys are messy that way. Sitting space is quite decent. It's not bad. And you get a cup holder over here, you get air conditioning blowers over here, and you get 2 USB slots down here, which is pretty good. And lots of storage space. I mean, knee space, leg space, whatever you call it. Yeah. And let's go to the front. So just to recap about what I said earlier with the Corolla Cross. So interior build quality is really good, right? It's typical Toyota, simple design, and quality is great. Even the seats are fantastic, great design, very supportive, very comfortable. It's basically the same interior in the Corolla, but in the Cross body. So most of it, there are some differences here and there. We'll get to that later in a later video. But first impression, fantastic. But then you start to drive it and you notice there are certain things that we wish that were better. Like for example, there's only one USB slot over here. This is after all the SUV, right? So you expect families to buy it, right? So families meaning husband, wife, husband or son and daughter, whoever it is that's driving the car. Imagine there are going to be a lot of arguments over who is going to use that one single USB slot at the front. So yep, no dual zone air conditioning over here, and but otherwise pretty decent. I also would like to say that there's no it's pretty hot, let me close this. Include that there are no pedal shifters. This 1.8 litre engine produces about 139 PS, 170 odd Newton meters of torque, and it's pretty nice engine. It delivers, even though it's a naturally aspirated engine, it delivers power very linearly. So there's never a loss of power in between. So it's a very nice engine, 1.8 litre engine. And so we drove roughly about 200 kilometers, I think. And we haven't even consumed half tank yet. So quite decent, I think. The other thing that I'd like to point out is this, the very odd looking camera. It's very odd. It requires some getting used to, but what happens if I press this? Oh, it gives you different views. So, but like I said, it requires some getting used to. Other than that though, you get 2 cup holders over here. And this is a charging pad. Of course, Toyota says this is optional. There's no USB slots inside here either, and it's a very shallow storage area. So I reckon maybe a smart tag, couple of keys, your wallet, not much else. And then let me show you the engine. So yeah, the engine that powers the Corolla Cross 1.8 liter engine. Power is fantastic, delivers linear. I can't expect much from a 1.8 naturally aspirated engine, but for what it is, it's pretty decent. And fuel consumption for our real world test today, of course, some traffic situations, the hills around, where were we? Sedang? Semenyih? The hills around Semenyih and the dam around Semenyih as well. Some very nice hill climbs, downhill, some winding roads, and it still hasn't even had half a liter of tank petrol. So I'm guessing quite alright. And it's coupled to a 7-speed CVT transmission, and just as Uncle Chip said in this video as well, very impressive CVT transmission. It's quite refined, it's not very noisy. CVT transmission typically can get very noisy, they're very drony, right? Especially during acceleration. But not here, not with this one. It's pretty impressive. And just like Uncle Chip said, Toyota has had a knack for using some pretty, or rather refining the CVT technology. So, all in all, I would say that, whoa, all in all, I think Toyota has a winner on their hands. The only difference between the 1.8 liter G variant and the V variant are, like we said earlier, this thing doesn't have acoustic windows. The V variant has acoustic windows. So we reckon that the interior of the V variant will be slightly more quieter. So which is great as well. You can't fault a quiet interior, right? I personally love quiet interiors. So other than that though, you also get, the V variant will get bi-LED headlights, which I think is what you should go for. Halogens are so 1980. And then, yeah, pretty much everything else is about the same. Oh, you also get an illumination system for the front door, the cup holder and the center tray. The 1.8 liter G doesn't have it. And you get the TSS, Toyota Safety System. So the Toyota Safety System comes with a pre-collision system, lane departure alert, dynamic radar cruise control, lane tracing assist, automatic high beams. That's about it. It also has blind spot monitoring system, which is fantastic, especially in KL where bikes come out of nowhere, right? Trust me, I'm one. So we tend to come in and out of corners, and we love hanging around in a blind spot. So blind spot monitoring system is always welcome. And yeah, the V variant and the G variant are pretty much the same, except that the G variant uses 17-inch wheels with Bridgestone tires, and the V variant uses 18-inch wheels with a brand that we're not quite sure of, but we've heard they're going to be Michelin's. We'll have to reconfirm that later. But in terms of exterior, the G, V, same. I really think that Toyota has a winner on their hands. So this is our first impression of the Toyota Corolla Cross. We are hoping to get this car later, and we'll give you a much more in-depth review. But if you're looking for a car that is bigger than the HRV, cheaper than the CRV, and the RAV4 is just way too expensive, I don't think you can really go wrong with the Corolla Cross. There are a couple, it's not 100% perfect, I would say about 98. Thank you for watching this Piston.my. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and Toyota Corolla Cross, everybody. So we just got back to the Toyota headquarters here in Salam after our drive of the Corolla Cross 1.8G. And I kind of just noticed that they have the 1.8V here on display. Let me show you. So this is the 1.8V, the top of the line variant, and that is the 1.8G. And as we were telling you earlier, that in terms of exterior wise, they're both roughly about the same, except that the wheels on this run on 17 and this runs on 18. And yes, they run on Michelin, and this one runs on Piston. So other than that though, they're both pretty much the same. Interior wise, same. Seats are the same. Everything is the same. Same. There are two USB ports at the bottom and only one USB point at the front, which I have a huge issue with. But other than that, keep in mind this is the G. They're both roughly about the same. But that is in terms of styling and detailing lah. But of course, if you go into the finer detail, the 1.8V has the Toyota safety sense. And this from motomalaya.net. Yeah. So again, Toyota Corolla Cross due to be launched this March 25th. Thank you for watching this Piston of mine.